Tiffany Sartin, Manuscript speech. Kate Winslet once said, "Having children just puts the whole world into perspective. Everything else just disappeared." That couldn't be a truer statement. I had no idea just what it meant to be a mother and how that would change my life forever. I, like many other little girls, knew from a very young age that I always wanted to have children. What I didn't know was that I would end up doing it at such a very young age. I also didn't know that it would be what would bond my sister and I in an everlasting way. I'll never forget the day it all first started. I was 15. It was February 2003. I hadn't been feeling well for the last few days, hardly eating, couldn't keep much down. My cycle for the month was a few days late, and I had been emotional about every little thing. Honestly, I knew the possibility, and I was terrified. I went to my older sister for help. My older sister is 4 years older than myself. She helped raise me, so I knew I could count on her. I told her my dilemma. She smiled and just kept reassuring me that no matter what, everything was going to be okay. I remember her saying things like, "Tiff, don't worry, we'll get through this. I'm here for you. Just calm down." But still, I was scared to death and freaking out a little bit. And at this point, I didn't want the rest of the family to find out what was going on. And it's like my sister just knew, because she asked me if I wanted to go to McDonald's, and of course I said yes. Anything to get me out of that house. We got in the car and we drove straight to the Walgreens, which was across the street from McDonald's. She said nothing, just went inside and then returned just a few short minutes later with a test in her hands. I told her I didn't want to go back to the house to take the test, so we decided to go across the street to get that McDonald's. As we arrived at Mickey D's, the two of us walked straight to the ladies' room. To this day, I can still recall so many of the small details of how it happened. I remember walking directly to the handicap stall. I remember her handing me the test to take. I was very hesitant at first. But then, I remember afterwards, the two of us standing there in the McDonald's bathroom, waiting to read the lines of a pregnancy test. I was so nervous about the outcome, I started to panic. My heart was in my throat. I had butterflies in my stomach. I started asking her, what am I going to do? I think a part of me already knew the answer. But when I looked at my sister, her eyes told me everything. And she just looked at me and said, "Tiffany, it's positive." And yes, that was it. That's all it took. Tears started falling down my face like rain. I started mumbling all sorts of crazy things like, "I can't do this. I'm too young for this. How did I let this happen? And this can't be happening." I'll never forget what happened next. My sister grabbed me. She looked me straight in the face and said, "Listen, I love you, and I will be with you by your side every step of the way. Calm down. Do not be afraid, little sister. God has a plan for you and for this baby." That day, those words meant nothing to me. I was too scared to hear it. But thinking back on it now, I know just how true it was. I was scared, young, and nowhere near ready to be a mother. But over the next 7 months, my sister did what she said and stood by me like she said she would. She went with me to every doctor's appointment and ultrasound visit. She went with me to pick out baby clothes, diapers, bottles, the works. We did it all together. She would even go to McDonald's 2 and 3 times a day for me because, ironically enough, that was what I craved the whole time I was pregnant. And then, when my son made his arrival in August of 2003, she stood right there beside me and was the one to cut his umbilical cord. It's crazy. All the fear, the overwhelming anxiety, all of it, all at once ceased to exist. In that moment, nothing mattered but that tiny little person that I had brought into the world. I knew it was going to be hard, but somehow everything made perfect sense to me for the first time in 9 months. And I knew I could do it. Life had changed in an instant. I now had this tiny little person that was depending on me. He meant the world to me. He was my life, my reason for being. All my troubles, concerns, everything I had been doubting for so long just seemed to disappear. And through it all, my sister and I had developed such a bond over the course of this time. She had been my rock, my best friend. Today, I'm 32 years old, and to be honest, I'm not sure if I actually told her what that meant to have her stand beside me and being there for me back then. That I often would think to myself that I wasn't capable of doing it, and that she's the reason I was strong enough and the reason I didn't give up. In life, we never know just how much someone means to us or just how much it can mean having a person be there for us. And in this situation, it meant the world. I didn't just become a mother in 2003. I made a bond with my sister that would last a lifetime. Thank you.